Thank you for joining us for Helping Seniors Radio. Join us live every Wednesday at 12 noon on the Space Coast's 90.3 FM, WEJF Radio, and or online at wejf.net. Now let's join this week's Helping Seniors Radio program, already in progress.
Joe said, it's never easy being a nonprofit because basically at the end of the day, what you do is you try to make all your services available at no charge to the people, the community that you serve, and you have no reason to exist other than to serve our community, but we can't do it without your help. So Joe years ago came up with this fun idea called the Helping Seniors Car Raffle. And he did this back in his days when he was building up Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, which was his first charity effort here in Brevard County. They call them Joe's Clubs to this day. And then when I met him 15 years ago when he was launching Helping Seniors, he'd retired from Brevard Alzheimer's and said there's more work to be done. And he said what we really need to do is have an organization that helps people navigate to resources that are going to help them on their aging journey. And so Joe said, much like I used car raffles for Brevard Alzheimer's to help get Joe's Clubs built, let's use a car raffle to help keep the work of Helping Seniors go. So we have now the 9th annual Helping Seniors Car Raffle, and it actually happens a week from Sunday. And what's so much fun about this is Joe had become friends with AJ Hires, who's got all these great car dealerships in town. He's got a Chevrolet store, he's got a Kia store, he's got a Mazda store, he's got Dodge, Jeep, Ram, all kinds of cars. So what he said is, why don't we make a car available for the car raffle and let the winner pick which car they're going to choose. So there's actually 7 cars in the raffle, basically representing one car from each of the dealerships that AJ has, and then the winner gets to decide what they want to go home in. And so, Cheryl, I don't know if you've had a real chance to look through all these cars, but there's some amazing cars. And the way it works, I always explain to people, it's one car, but the winner gets to choose the car. So like last year, our winner, Jim Newman from Cocoa, a local fellow, he wanted to have a Chevrolet Colorado truck. So he brought it out actually to an event after they delivered it to him. And there's some photos out. If you go to HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com, you'll be able to see the picture of us standing there with Jim Newman in his beautiful truck. The year before, the lady Diane Pelak, she wanted a Mitsubishi Outlander, and that's what she selected for this. And so there's all kinds of great cars. There's a Mazda Miata, there's a Kia Sportage, there's a Jeep Compass Sport if you're into 4x4s, there's a Dodge Hornet if you're into racing, there's even a Mazda 3 if you'd like a elegant but sedate little sedan. Cheryl, a lot of great car choices there. Does one of those speak your name?
Absolutely. I'm looking at the one. Should I say it?
Yeah, of course you should.
All right, the Chevrolet Colorado.
So that would be
Adventure.
The truck.
That one has my name on it.
I hear you. That's what's fun is because we always get together. So Mark Pylock, who has this amazing place called the American Muscle Car Museum, I was joking. I always say, we have a car garage, so we have a car or two in there. And most people have a car. Maybe some people have a really big car garage, and they have 4 or 5 cars in there. Well, Mark Pylock has a car garage called the American Muscle Car Museum, and he just happens to have 500 cars in his, and that is a great chance to go through his car garage. And what's amazing about this place is it's actually called the American Muscle Car Museum, but you can't wake up on a random Saturday morning and say, hey, let's go to the museum, because it's not open to the public. The only time that you can access the museum is when he opens it up for a charity. So Sunday, October 26th, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., he's opening it up for our 9th annual Helping Seniors Car Raffle. So when you get your ticket, you get to come out to the museum. You get to tour the museum inside. They'll give you a wristband and get you all organized to get into the museum. And then on the outside, though, because it's a beautiful property right there, 3500 Sarna Road is the address, 3500 Sarna Road, and you will be able to tour the best of Brevard Car Show outside, which has something like 125, 150 cars out there that our good car show organizer friend Bill Antonetz is pulling together. But the neat thing is, because this is the last weekend in October, we're actually making it a trunk or treat festivity. So what we're saying is, when you get your ticket, you can bring out kids or grandkids, and trunk or treat is happening outside of the best of Brevard Car Show. So the kids are going to be able to maybe even go home with some candy and some treats. So All kinds of fun things happen at the museum Sunday afternoon. It's a week from Sunday, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And when you get your ticket, one ticket is $25 or 5 tickets for a $100 donation. I always explain, you do not have to be present to win. We're going to call you if we draw your name out of the barrel, but why not? If you're in town, come out and enjoy the museum. Cheryl, have you been to this museum?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell folks that have not been to the museum what they're going to miss if they don't get out there.
Well, it's a lot of fun. A lot of people come out. I brought my kids the last time I
Yes.
went, and the kids really liked it. There were some interactive exhibits as well for children, but it is just row after row of very interesting, different types of cars, newer, older. I really enjoyed it, so absolutely.
You know, and what's so much fun about it is I always say you don't even have to be a car nerd, right? You don't have to know like oh, I'm here for the Camaros or I'm here for the Dodge Challenger or whatever. You know, he's got so many interesting things. He's got everything from outboard motors to historic bicycles to there's even that funny looking pink shoe that you can drive around in.
Oh, my kids love that one.
Isn't that great? There's so much fun stuff to see in there. And you know, Cheryl, this was what was really funny. We were in there filming some promos the other week to let people know that we're going to be in there and just show folks that even if you were there last year, there's stuff you haven't seen before. And I saw something that I'd never seen before. And that is the fact that, you know, because when we talk about making an aging plan, the more serious part of what we do with helping seniors, we often like to call it getting your ducks in a row. So what do we find in the museum this time? We find an antique stove. Sitting on top of the stove are what? Ducks in a row. So we did a whole shtick about that. You'll see that on the Facebook page as we get into it. But there's something for everybody in that museum. And the only way that you miss out is if you don't get a ticket and you don't get to get out there. And if you haven't been there, it's fantastic. Even if you're not a car fan, you're just going to appreciate the quality and the caliber. He's got tanks out there. I mean, it's just like incredible how much stuff is out there. And again, with the trunk or treat for the kids, it's a day you don't want to miss. So let's talk about how we get tickets. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can go right now to helpingseniors.carraffle.com, get your tickets safely and securely online. Yes, we do have tickets available at the museum, but you get to kind of skip a line because you show your stub and they'll wave you right into the museum and get you a wristband and get you all set up to go. So it's good if you get your tickets ahead of time. So you can go to helpingseniors.carraffle.com. You can call the Helping Seniors information line, which is a great number that you should have handy anyway, maybe even stick it on your speed dial, because that's what we do. We exist to help seniors navigate to good solutions for whatever challenges that they're running into. But it's also a good number to have so you can order your Helping Seniors car raffle tickets. That number is 321-473-7770. You can, of course, come and pick up your tickets at the Helping Seniors Resource Center, 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. You can also get them at your friendly neighborhood Boniface Hires dealership. In fact, that's a fun way to do it because you can check out the car that you might want to win. So if you say, hey, I really like that Mazda Miata, you could go by Boniface Hires Mazda right there at the corner of NASA and US 1 and check out the car up close and personal while you're getting your tickets. And Cheryl Ward, at your law office, you guys have tickets.
Yeah, we are an authorized retailer.
Yay. Thank you for helping us in this. So just please get your tickets. We'll do a reminder here before the end of the show, but I really am looking forward to getting into the heart of the show today because really what was fascinating about this class, and I guess this was something I was talking with the director for the wholesale program there, and it's a whole wealth of learning. He said they do stuff there, and they're also involved in the Shepherd Center, and there's all these like great classes. And Cheryl, it was brilliant for you to bring this class, which you could just tell by the number of folks. I mean, it was literally almost standing room only, how interested people are. And not only should they be, because like we were talking during the class, these are decisions like we'll clip coupons to try to save $5 or $10 when we go out someplace. But these are decisions that could cost us thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars if we don't take care of these things the right way. And what you're doing is you're handing people a real lifeline so they understand the process, because sometimes we see a commercial on TV and we think about, like, that's the thing to do. And yet we talked a little bit today also maybe why you want to be really careful about that. And I love how you conducted the class. First of all, you're a great instructor. You had everybody's like full and undivided attention. And I love it when she walks in, she goes, "I'm here for the class and we're starting with a pop quiz."
Absolutely. Yep. Every class we have, we start with a pop quiz, and it's just for fun. I tell everybody you don't have to participate, but if you do, we keep track. Just put your name on the paper, and we have everybody who gets 100 on a pop quiz put in for a little prize at the end of the class. We don't know what the prize is yet, but we're just playing. But we do actually have a 5-question pop quiz every class. So this week, should we go over it?
Let's do it. This was fun.
So
test your knowledge right here, right now.
Absolutely. And it's a very like open discussion class where we talk about things. So the first question on the pop quiz from this morning was, keeping your original will in a locked safe that no one else can open is the smartest option. True or false? And pretty much everybody in the class agreed that that's probably not a good idea, because if nobody can get into your safe at these critical moments, or even after you pass, how are they going to access the estate planning documents? And I think what a lot of people were surprised to learn is that safe deposit boxes and vaults are just a little bit too safe.
Yeah.
And in order to open up a safe deposit box, if you're not a co-owner on it, you actually have to petition the court.
Wow.
To be able to get access to it, and then you do an inventory of it in front of a bank representative, submit it to the court. So it's quite a difficult process, and it's also public. Having to petition for the court for access to that, and maybe all those family jewels that you didn't want publicized to your creditors are now out there and ready to potentially be had. And then also with a vault, if nobody has the code to your safe or the combination, what we struggle with is getting access to it. At least legally, a locksmith shouldn't be able to come in and take a crowbar and jam it wide open. That's another thing you have to petition the court for, to have a personal representative appointed, or to get some sort of court order to prove that you actually have ownership and should be getting access to the safe. So I think a lot of people were surprised by that one. Not by that the answer was false. That was the easy one.
Yeah, but what I learned from, and it's so interesting because I'm not in the world of the legal part of it in at the level or experience that you have with it. But what I was learning from it is that these are things that we don't normally think about. We think, oh, we'll just go drill the lock or something like that, and maybe that would actually pop the thing open. But is that actually legal if somebody else wants to? You were talking later about contesting wills and how some of that stuff comes up, and I love to tell the story of Aretha Franklin, where they had a will and then somebody, quote, found one crumpled up behind the sofa cushions or something, and so there are all these issues. If you want to do it, you want to do it right, and these are things that we don't even know enough to know to think about, Cheryl. You know?
And absolutely, and that's why I think educating the public is so important, because they get to hear from someone like me who has experience with these things, what not to do, what mistakes not to make, and some of them maybe not as critical as others, where it totally defeats every entire wish that they've ever wanted for their estate or for the end of their life to pan out like that. And that's really just a hard thing to have to explain to someone's loved ones, because that goes against everything that they knew.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, would I be able to move on to the next
question?
Let's
go to number 2.
Okay. All right, number 2. Which of these should not be stored with your estate planning documents? Durable power of attorney, that's A. B, grocery lists. Or C, last will and testament. So I think that one was a little bit too easy, because again, everybody got that one right. It's B, but we did talk about where to put these documents and what to do and what not to do. So, having them in an easily accessible place, because for example, when, the paramedic or whenever they come and they need to have access to this information. So if there's a DNR, what do? Post it on your fridge.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it was funny because one of the ladies in the class, she raised her hand. She said, "Well, I actually answered B because if I'm going to the hospital, they need to know like what am I normally eating or something." And I thought that was a
Valid.
creative answer for that. But and then we started talking about the fact that the Brevard County Fire Department has this thing called Vial of Life, where they want you to stick this little thing into your refrigerator. We have them, by the way. If you need one, you just drop by the Helping Seniors Resource Center, and Karen or one of our volunteers will be happy to give you one. But it's a program that what the fire department likes to do is they like to have you put that important information inside this little jar, and it sits in your refrigerator, and the first responders are trained to look in the refrigerator to see if that vial of life is in there. And what it can do is give them any information they might need to know, like are you diabetic, just stuff that they might need to know. If nobody is there to speak for you when they show up, at least they have some clues as to what they need to be looking for. So what a great question. Let's go on to number 3.
absolutely. Okay. So your personal representative automatically has access to your online accounts, true or false? And the correct answer was false. Your personal representative does not automatically have access. You actually have to get them appointed by court. And I have people who reach out to me and they say, "Hey, I contacted the bank. They won't tell me anything." And that's actually normal.
Yeah.
Because 1, you have to prove that person passed away, and 2, you have to have letters of administration in order appointing the personal representative. So people are saying, "Oh, I just need a letter. I just need a letter."
Right.
No, you don't just need a letter. You need a court order signed by a judge. So the only alternative to getting easy access to your online accounts is going to be having a trust and having a successor trustee, having everything lined up. That way, the successor trustee can just step in the shoes of the initial trustee and get access a lot easier than having to rely on a court order. So that was that answer. Here's a good one. All right. True or false? Verbal promises are legally binding in estate planning.
Well, I'm going to try
What do
to
you think?
answer this. I'm going to say yes, but the problem is, how do you prove it?
Yes, it's tough, right? If someone pinky promises to take care of one of your children, if you leave the account pay on death to that particular person, that pinky promise is not enforceable. Or it's going to be very difficult to enforce. I mean, the pay on death, that's supposed to go to that particular person. They have no real obligation to do what they said they were going to do with it. And it's very difficult to prove those things. So I always recommend not relying on a verbal promise while estate planning.
Yeah, because stuff, doesn't it seem like stuff changes when money gets involved?
Oh yeah, people change entirely.
Yeah, so this mild-mannered person, all of a sudden they get a bunch of bucks, and next thing they're in a, I don't know, a Corvette or something, instead of doing what they had promised you they were going to help you with.
Absolutely. People totally change when it comes to money, and the best thing you can do is just have an estate plan that is not ambiguous, not vague, specifically says what everybody's entitled to.
Yeah.
Just lay it all out, make it easy on everybody. I recently had a client, I think I was telling the class about, hey, a half sibling was inheriting an estate.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very, very sad because nobody had contact with this half sibling ever. And they just get a pile of money in their lap because someone chose not to make a will. And how devastating that was for their family, because that specific inheritance was a house. And it was supposed to go down from person A to B to C. And unfortunately, it made its hands into this half sibling and it's just heartbreaking to have to tell people crying that they depended on this. So next question is, what's the most common mistake people make when organizing their affairs? A, forgetting to tell anyone where the documents are. B, using too many paper clips. Or C, making multiple copies of the same power of attorney.
And that's our cliffhanger. We're going to come back and answer that question on the second half of the Helping Seniors show. We're talking with elder law attorney Cheryl Ward of the law firm Cheryl A. Ward. And we'll be back with the second half of Helping Seniors Radio in just a moment. Stay tuned.
12:33 right now here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard. Let's get back to more of the program. And here once again is our host and executive director. I like to call it a BOGO. Right here on the show, you've got Kerry Fink for both executive director and the host. Hi, Kerry. Go ahead.
Hey, John, actually you get a BOGO because you yourself are president of the organization, so we get like two.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Then Cheryl volunteers her time, as you know, on our board of directors. So busy, very successful, very experienced elder law attorney. What a blessing to have her as we're trying to, build the work that Joe established all those years ago. And John, you were there, even before, back in the day with the Brevard Alzheimer's, helping Joe get that built up. And here we are, and this work only gets more important as we go along.
It sure does.
Yeah.
A very important need that we try to fill, and it is only going to get bigger and on our side, getting better as well.
That's what we're working every day for.
Yep.
So, Cheryl, welcome back to the broadcast. This is so exciting because this is the first time you've been helping us for quite a while behind the scenes in the Helping Seniors world. But this is so exciting to have you actually here joining us on the radio. And again, for those of you that just might be returning to the radio on 90.3 FM, WEJF, or online at WEJF.net, welcome back. We were having a really great morning because I got the privilege of attending a class that Cheryl is teaching at SAIL, Senior Adventures in Learning. But this is like so well attended because it's all about conversations about the things you need to know for those golden years to keep them golden. And so where we did, just before the break, we were like leaving a cliffhanger because we were going through a pop quiz that you gave out to the class. And we were up to, I think, the fourth or fifth question. And let's repeat the question and let's pick up the answers and pick up from there. This is testing your skill, how much you know about the things you need to know about elder law.
Thank you so much. All right. So the question was, what's the most common mistake people make when organizing their affairs? A, forgetting to tell anyone where the documents are. B, using too many paper clips. Or C, making multiple copies of the same power of attorney. So I just want to go line by line quickly. Forgetting to tell anyone where the documents are. Now, I do get a lot of calls from people trying to locate estate planning documents of their loved ones after they pass because they didn't have the original or they just couldn't find it. So we have a double-edged sword here, right? So if you go around disseminating your estate planning documents, then it's out there and it's more difficult to revoke them. Mm-hmm. But if you don't give it out to anybody, then nobody knows that they exist or where they're located. Or if you kept your originals with a retired attorney, like yesterday, consulting with a client, well, potential client that became a client, and we called the phone numbers of the attorney on the documents. We went online, looked up on the Florida bar, tried to find the attorney, and none of the numbers worked. We can't find the originals. The trust has gone missing.
Wow.
So tough. But it is a problem to not tell anyone where the documents are. So I think the best thing that can be done is not to over disseminate them. I would just say, let everybody know where they are. Don't make them difficult to get. But that is the top mistake. But that does not mean that C, making multiple copies of the same power of attorney, is wrong. That can be problematic. Like I said, revoking them after they've already disseminated. But also I've seen the instance where someone may make a power of attorney and make it out to child 1, make another power of attorney out to child 2, and make another power of attorney out to child 3, revoking none of them. And then we have these 3 documents out there that appoint different people, and they could have conflict, which often does happen. And then which one supersedes what? And then you end up in court over due to the conflict. So I don't think C is technically wrong, but I think A is the most correct answer, forgetting to tell anyone where the documents are.
You know, what you were talking about is so important because I often will say from the Helping Seniors perspective, when we're talking to seniors and their families, we say, the reason you want to get ahead of this stuff rather than, it was kind of the point that you made just before the break, right? If you don't have a plan, the government has a plan for you. It just is not the plan you want. And so in that tragic case of, you said the person had passed away and were thinking they were going to leave it to one person, but then because of a prior marriage and all this.
Yeah, Florida law, intestacy, exactly. So you want to be the one to make the decision what happens to your stuff. We all work hard for the things we have. We work very hard for it. And by not planning properly, it just puts it to waste. And I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen to them. It just happens on its own.
Yeah.
So, do something about it.
Right. You need to be proactive because, like, if you're reactive, it may not go the way you want. And B, we say this all the time. what's worse is you may inadvertently cause like civil war in the family because, well, I thought mom meant this and no, mom meant that. And, everybody who once was more or less at least civil becomes uncivil because they just get hung up on whatever that issue was. And so it seems to me like, Cheryl, when you take the time to organize and get ahead of the curve on all this stuff, you're doing it for your own peace of mind. So, like, okay, I've got everything organized. So kind of like whatever happens, if I wind up in a hospital and then I've already got all that part taken care of. If I go on to my great reward, then I've already got that part figured out and it's going to go according to how I would like for it to go. But then the second part is I think it's a peacekeeper in the family, because if it's clear and if it's spelled out, you might disagree with it, but it's there, and it's kind of peace of mind for everybody. There's no point in everybody getting, into fisticuffs over it, because it's already clear. This is what mom wanted. This is what dad wanted.
And I want to add, don't do it on your deathbed. Don't wait till you're dying, till you get the cancer diagnosis or whatever bad diagnosis. That's not the time to start, because that also causes problems. If you're already diagnosed with something, are you not healthy enough to be doing these estate planning documents? You should be doing it well before you have a health issue.
Yes.
So if your mile marker is, oh, now I have a health issue, I need to take care of this, that is the wrong mindset. You want to get it done in advance. You want to preserve your family. We don't have enough family. I don't feel like I have enough family.
Right.
I want more family.
Yeah.
I don't want needless conflict created when we can preserve relationships. You don't get another brother or sister later in life, or just other loved ones or friends. I guess you could have friends later in life, but
of course.
But the point being is that you want to preserve these relationships. So 100%, yes.
Yeah, and then the third reason, right? You do this for yourself. You do it because you love your family. But really, the third one is you're going to do this now because it saves you money. Like, we spent a great time. You went into some stories in the class where we were talking about how when things happen after the fact and it's not clear and now everybody's having to react to emergency, we know three things, right? If it's an emergency, you always make your best decisions under pressure, right? No. And under an emergency, you always have the most options available, right? No. And of course, under an emergency, things are always inexpensive. And the answer to that is never. It always works. All of that works in the reverse. If you're trying to make decisions under pressure, you're not making good decisions. If you're trying to make them at the last minute with a deadline, that's really harmful. And then the options that you're left with at that point are very costly. Like we talked about, the fact that when you do the planning ahead of time, again, you get that peace of mind, but you also have the luxury of saying, okay, this is my most economical approach to getting done what I want to do. And even to the point where a couple of people raised their hands and said, okay, I don't have that much money, and I'm not even sure I could afford to do this stuff. And you said there are attorneys that will work with payment plans, because the goal is to make it work for that family so they're getting what they need, and then they are safe and secure and can relax and enjoy their life, is I guess the way I would think about it.
Absolutely, yes. And people, they come to me, and I'm sure they go to other attorneys, and they have something in mind. And the goal isn't for you to feel uncomfortable. So if you're thinking, I'm going to go to this attorney's office, and they're going to push me to do something I don't want to do, not every attorney is like that. So if you come, you sit down, and you meet someone who you feel comfortable with, you should be able to say, this is what my budget is. This is what I'm trying to do. What's the most cost effective? And if we're on a really tight budget, like you just said, payment plans are an option if you plan in advance. If you're in a tough situation where you're in a critical moment with your health, that payment plan option likely is not going to be available. In fact, it's going to be a huge markup, because not only do you need it, but you need a fast turnaround. So I think planning in advance is going to save you money, but I don't think that like you had said before, clipping coupons, this should be the thing that you do to try to save money in terms of, should I, find documents online? Should I go with an attorney? Going online, bad idea. You save a couple bucks, but you risk so much more. It is so heartbreaking to have to tell people that this will that you're bringing me is not going to work. The judge is not going to allow it, or this trust was not executed properly. So plan in advance. Go to an attorney. If budget is the problem, just let the attorney know. I do think attorneys are willing to work with people. I know I am. So we have hearts. We're people.
Yeah. And another point I want to say is why it gets expensive if we come to you at the very last minute. Not that you're not very capable of helping us navigate through whatever that tough situation is, but if the only recourse then is to get the court involved, Now we're adding extra because we got court fees,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then we got to wait for a judge to make a decision or say this is okay or this is not okay. And so a lot of the control that like us as the client, but even you as the attorney, we've closed off a lot of options for you. So the only ones that remain are unfortunately the most costly ones. So if we can get ahead of that curve, we're really doing the best we can for ourselves, our family, and I kind of joke with you, Cheryl, saying like, from a billable hour standpoint, it's probably a good thing on that side, but yet your heart is to help people before it has to become that.
Absolutely. And if you're in a court situation, now the decision's out of your loved one's hands.
Right.
The people that you want to make those decisions, it's up to the judge, right?
Yeah.
So that's a tough situation to be in, to have someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know your family, doesn't know the people involved in your family, have to make those decisions for you. Definitely not a place you want to be. I mean, that's money aside.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about a lot of money, but to be in court, but we definitely do not want to roll the dice with someone we don't know making those decisions for us.
Yeah, there was a gentleman who I was speaking with after the class had let out, and he said, how expensive? He said, okay, now the attorney charges me all this money to do my paperwork, and the question he asked me, and I thought it was really an intuitive question. He goes, but then how much does it cost? Like when I'm gone, how much does it cost then to run all this paperwork through or whatever has to happen? I said, I'm not the expert, so I'm actually going to pose the question to you, but here's what I told him, and you can tell me if it was sort of correct or not. I said, well, this is one of the reasons why perhaps setting up trust and all these paid-on death kind of things, because then maybe a lot of this is kind of more or less automatic. I said, the problem is if you just have the will, then by definition it has to move through the court, and that's going to be costly and expensive. So my feeling is that if you had done the proper planning, part of your job, Cheryl, as elder law attorney, is to help us smooth that process so that we can expedite, and it's not going to be expensive, and it's also going to move quickly.
Absolutely. That's exactly the goal. And I know people come here from other states, and there's different laws than other states.
Yes.
But here in Florida with just a will, people think, oh, I did a will, I'm not going to end up in probate. Unfortunately, maybe that doesn't work like that in West Virginia or Alabama. I don't know where. But here in Florida, just having a will does not mean that you avoid probate. In fact, it means that you've let the probate court know where you want your assets to go, but you are 100% subject to probate. And we get a lot of people coming in from out of state with trusts and wills, and they definitely need to have that reviewed, and maybe no changes are necessary. Maybe everything's fine. It doesn't, just because you come from another state doesn't automatically mean, hey, you need a brand new will.
Right.
But you may need it.
Right. So the point that's another point too, because it was a point that in the part I was talking about helping seniors, I make the argument that here in Florida we have more seniors than ever before. Number one, more people are turning 65. Two, people are flat living longer. But three, everybody wants to move to Florida, it seems. And so maybe somebody was very, very responsible. They come out of Indiana and they had the world's best elder law attorney in the state of Indiana draw up stuff. And even if it was just done like a year before they moved, then they get down here in Florida and say, well, I've got everything put to bed, I don't have to worry about this. But before they just assume that, we need them to sit down with somebody like yourself who can look through it and say, this is how this is going to be interpreted under Florida law, because it is state by state. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you come for example, to Florida from, I'm just thinking of a current client I have now from South Carolina, and they do not have the homestead exemption laws. And
Right.
so you have to update your trust to get the language in there to maintain your homestead.
Wow.
Because you're going to end up paying more with the taxes. You're not going to be able to get the exemption. There's issues there. So one of the things I did want to point out, I want to touch on one of the things you said, is it goes to my last and final pop quiz question, but it's about keeping a clear list of your accounts, keeping a clear list of all the advisors in your life.
Yep.
So when I make an estate planning package, I have an organizer, and in that organizer, we list out who the estate planning attorney is, and that's me. We have the accountant, a spot for that, and we want to include all the different advisors, life insurance agent, financial advisor, all that. You list that out, and then on the next page, we have the listing of your financial accounts and where they're located. And then on the following page, life insurance policies, the policy number, this, that. And I think one of the big mistakes that people make is they do not provide enough information, and they get a surprise like, oh, hey, there's $30,000 or $50,000 in this account that was forgotten about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, a pain in the butt if it's not titled in trust, and then you have to probate it. But just even knowing that it exists, I would say, as a part of your estate plan, keep an organizer.
Yeah.
So that you have contact information, names, phone numbers, addresses, accounts, all that listed out. Because your documents are all great and fine and grand, and we absolutely need that. But without knowing where anything is, it's going on a chase, and you don't even know where to start. There's so many financial institutions.
Yeah, and especially if somebody has moved around the country, like I hear the stories a lot, like it's a military family, and so they were stationed here, and then this, and then so when Dad passes away, oh well, he had some account at some credit union up in Washington State or something, and they're all the family's trying to figure all this out. And to your point is like, I guess the big three reasons that you want to really try to organize this ahead of time is for your own peace of mind, so that what you're hoping is going to happen. And then number two is that for your family, you've made it, unless you hate your family, that's a different discussion. We'll have a psychologist on a different show about that. But if you love your family, you're trying to make this as painless. They're already going to be missing you if you're not here. Why are we going to put them through the extra stress and aggravation instead of just having them remember you fondly? And then especially because you helped organize things so well before you left planet Earth. And then the third thing is just because it's a money issue. If you can do this now and think about this now, you're going to just save so much money. And we see it. It's a tragedy when we answer the Helping Seniors phone line, and I know you get this in your office all the time. Somebody walks in and say, well, here's the situation, and they plop everything on your desk, and then after you've sifted through it, you go, well, unfortunately, we're only left with this,
Yeah, those are tough conversations, especially when, someone comes to you right after going through hospice and death, and if the dying process isn't ugly enough and traumatic enough, now you're having to deal with all these difficult situations. And when people make it really, a smooth transition, it's appreciated. You get to grieve. You get to feel the pain and not be dealing with, needless troubles that could be prevented. That, kind of tarnishes your legacy to do something like that. And then I think that goes to my last one. Can I do that one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Absolutely. What is the best way to make sure your loved ones can actually use your organized documents when needed? A, store everything in a safe that only you can open. That one's not sounding too. Okay. B, give everyone a copy of your will and trust. Maybe. Or C, give a clear list of where all important documents are located and who to contact. What do you think?
Well, I'm sure that one's C, because that's the only logical one. We already disputed A in your very first question in the pop quiz, and B seems like, do you really want everybody to know your business? Suppose, and I guess, doesn't it happen that stuff changes? Like, we were talking along the way, the person that you thought would be the perfect executor or personal representative, we call them here, may have moved, like now they live in Hawaii. It's just not practical. Or worse yet, something happened and they're in trouble and there's all this other drama going on. And what was a good idea 5 years ago may not be a good idea this year for that. So you got to really always be thinking in those dimensions. I'm thinking.
So if you appoint one person in a will, in a trust, you give it out to them and they have a copy of it, and then you make a new one and then you disseminate that, and you have copies everywhere and nobody knows, did you revoke the first one, did you revoke the second one? We have copies everywhere. And as we talked about in class, Florida law is that if you can't locate the original will, the one with the wet ink, it's presumed to be revoked. So then we can't locate either original will. We don't really know. So what happens? You have to go to court and let the judge rule which will is operative. So we really want to be careful to always keep our original wills, number one, and number two, just be careful when disseminating them. There's only so much you can do, and you want to let your trustee, your personal representative, know that they're the one in charge. So you want to talk with them about it. Let them know that, hey, we're appointing you. Do you want to actually do this? And just make sure they're on board. That way you're not signing someone up for something that they don't want to do. But then the question is should you really give them a copy of it? Is that doing everybody a disservice? Because then they may think, oh, the copy's good enough. We don't need the original. So
Well, and then then there are those people who say, today you're in the will, tomorrow you're not in the will. Maybe the next day, if you make up with me, you're back in the will. There is a lot of, because it's your decision, right? It's your stuff. What do you want to have done with it? And so I think it's best if you take an active role and stay in charge of that, whatever your wishes are. If it's static and like, no, this is the way it's going to be, or if you're a person that's like, well, I'm still open to change, whatever that's going to bring. But at least then you're in charge instead of just going with whatever the state says or something like that.
Or the judge, or yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're talking with Cheryl Ward, elder law attorney, law firm of Cheryl A. Ward. How do people get in touch? We talked about the sale class. It looks to me it's full. I don't know if people could still sign up for it at this point, but we're talking together. I was saying to Cheryl, I really would love to figure out how we're going to bring this class, which is clearly this popular, and find some way to do more with it in the helping seniors world too. But for right now, if somebody wants to take another step, they've been listening to us talk about this and say, yeah, okay, I need to make a call. What would you tell somebody is the next step and how they keep this going?
Okay, so we will be doing more sale courses next semester, and we'll also be at Shepherd.
Oh, good.
Center Beachside and FIT. But you can always just call us, 321-372-8177. We'll pick up the phone. We offer free 15-minute consultation if you want to speak with us. And, I mean, we're online. We're at calllawoffice.com, too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, CAW. lawoffice.com, and let's say the phone number one more time.
Yep, 321-372-8177.
Yeah, Cheryl Ward, elder law attorney and a great friend of the Helping Seniors organization. And anytime that a number may go past you fast because you're in a car or you just walking out of the grocery store or something like that and you heard it but you didn't get to jot it down. So I always tell people, like, take down the Helping Seniors number. And keep that handy. So, you can get your Helping Seniors raffle card tickets, because I won't be able to remind you of that, 2 Wednesdays from now, because we will have already given out the car, and I want you to have a shot at it. So if you're going to get your ticket, you need to call today, 321-473-7770. I'll say that number again so you have time to jot it down, 321-473-7770. And that's a great number, because if you call up and say, hey, I want my tickets, and by the way, tell me that number to Cheryl Ward's law office, Karen or one of our great volunteers will be more than happy to get you connected on all that, because you need to take. I hope there's one thing I could maybe really if I could pound my fist on the table and say, please do this, because we see the wrong side of it so often, and so much of this can be prevented when you get ahead of the curve. So let's make a resolution to call in for our Helping Seniors raffle tickets. Call in to make sure you have the number to Cheryl Ward's law office, and we'll keep all of this stuff moving forward. 321-473-7770. And so, Cheryl, thank you. Is there any final thought or something that we want to bring in just a moment to really reinforce to people? Don't be an ostrich. Don't stick your head in the sand. Be proactive. Let's get this stuff going.
Absolutely. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for having me here today, and I'm so pleased to be here and to educate everybody. It's so important for me to educate our community. People don't know enough about this and need the information, so I'm out there spreading it. Thank you for having me here.
No, I'm so glad to have you here. It's funny, because I was saying to the during the part where I got to address the class, I said, we live in a county that's full of rocket scientists, literally. I mean, we have some very smart people in this county, but the problem is they're smart. We're all smart in a lane. Like, this is what we do, so we think we try to be the best we can. But when you get over to a lot of this aging stuff, and particularly this aging legal stuff, we don't have a clue, and so we always say, don't try this on your own. Call somebody who does this every day, knows the ins and outs, knows how the system works, knows how to make sure that you're not going to get tangled up in the system, but that you're going to be able to make the system work in a way that's going to be good for you and your family. So, Cheryl Ward, Law Office of Cheryl Ward, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week right back here for Helping Seniors Radio, 90.3 FM WEJF. Get those raffle tickets. HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com.